Hey Internet, welcome back to What's the Points? I'm Mike. Hope your 2025 has been good. I wanted to dive into my top 5 and bottom 5 cards for this year. And if you're new to this channel, we go over credit card points and miles, as well as airline and hotel programs, with an emphasis on how to get the most value for the least amount of work. So diving right in, I'm sure unless you've been living in a cave, you've probably seen that the Amex Platinum this year, a significant refresh. And I think the definition of refresh is up for debate. Actually, not that much changed as far as the mechanics of the card. The fee went up a couple $100 to $8.95. Which is a bit eye-watering. But on the other hand, many of the most significant credits, such as the fine hotels and resorts, went up more than that amount, and making it more useful, not just a higher amount. So this was a successful refresh. No one is getting the Platinum because they want the simplest possible card or the cheapest possible card. So for those of us who are already using this card, it became more of a keeper card. And in doing so, kind of ate Chase's lunch, and we'll come back to that. You know, the bigger surprise, I think, right now, I really didn't expect this card to be number 2, the Citi Strata Elite, on my top cards for the year. But it served a couple key functions for me. One is it allowed me to break out of American Airlines jail. If you've watched my previous videos, you've seen me comment on the fact that Citi has changed their previously very permissive product change rules to now make you stay within the co-branded world if that's where you already are. However, recently they opened up a pathway to change American Airlines cards to the Strata Elite only, specifically. You know, because I had been following the reviews and it had kind of mixed reviews. I think a lot of people were disappointed, including myself. We had expected something that was going to compete more directly with Amex, with their Platinum, and Chase with their Sapphire Reserve. It's not quite doing that. It's coming in at a lower price point, and indeed, actually, it's fitting a gap between the lower tiered premium card, the Capital One Venture X, which still sits at $395, although that's had some nerfs they're coming back around. But you know, this is fitting that gap between these two spaces for someone who wants something with more or less the simplicity and beginner friendliness of the Venture X, but a little bit more of the power of the CSR and Plat. And so how does it do that? Well, for one thing, it gives you American Airlines as a transfer partner. And, you know, Capital One infamously still has no domestic partners. That said, I mean, they did just add JetBlue, is my understanding. But I don't believe it has a 1-to-1 transfer ratio. And, you know, and I'm on the West Coast, so I don't really get to use JetBlue too much. And the credits I've really warmed up to the credits. Because the splurge credit it's super easy to use. It's $200 on your choice of several different merchants, including American Airlines and Best Buy and Ticketmaster, Live Nation. So that's easy to use. And the hotel credit, while it does require a 2-night minimum, which I don't love, but on the other hand, it's on any property in their system. So really, this credit, this $300 credit, it's almost as easy to use as the Venture One credit. The only difference is that the Capital One Venture X credit, it can be used on hotels and airlines with no minimum number of nights. You know, let's be honest. How many vacations are you taking where you're only staying one night at a property? I admit, I do have a fair number of one-night stays for different reasons. I've found it easier than I thought it would be to use this credit. Yeah, getting your value back on this card is not that hard. And I think the multipliers, though they have some quirks, you know, the Citi Nights, the ability to earn 6x on dining on Friday and Saturday nights starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time. It's a little quirky. It's one more thing to track, sure, but you don't have to. I don't think making your value back on this card, it's essential that you use that, but it's nice to have because the only thing remotely like that is the built card, which only gets you those double points, that 6x, once a month. And they cap you at $1,000 of spend for all of the double points earnings. Plus that card's about to be nuked and we don't know what's going to replace it yet with Built 2.0. So time will tell. But for now, I think you could argue that because of the simple nature of the credits, the Strata Elite, the easy to use selection of partners, including some unique partners and good transfer ratios for hotels, for American Airlines and EVA Airways, for example, which they have 1-to-1. Ironically, Capital One's the only other one that has that, but their transfer ratio is only 4-to-3, whereas this one's 1-to-1. So between all of those features and the fact that they still have, as of this date, an in-branch offer for 100,000 points for spending only $4,000 in 3 months, makes it now one of the more valuable subs in the game. By contrast, the Capital One sub currently, as I understand, standing at 100,000 points for $10,000 in spend. So make of that what you will. All right, number 3 on my list is the Alaska Atmos Rewards Summit Visa Infinite card. This made a big splash too this year, and similar to the Strata Elite, kind of sits in between the ultra premium cards and the more sort of basic features of entry-level co-branded cards. I've seen more people interested in this card than normal as far as, people who don't fly Alaska a lot. It's one of the few co-branded cards that makes it fairly easy to get your value and more without having to specifically be a loyalist for traveling with that brand. Because of their great partnerships with other airlines, because of their award chart for finding domestic and international flight deals, and an innovative and simple to use credit structure that, instead of relying on gimmicky throwaway credits on things that you would never spend money on otherwise, gives you a simple, easy to use 25,000 mile discount as a companion fare, as well as very compelling 3x and all foreign spend, a handful of Alaska lounge passes, and much easier to earn status with different status boosts. This card, if you're at all a one world flying enthusiast, and even myself as someone who has been more in the American Airlines space, now largely due to this card, I'm planning to switch over my loyalty from American to Alaska for 2026. Speaking of loyalty, we have the long underrated World of Hyatt Visa card coming in at number 4. This card, it's far from the best card, I'll be honest. But for me, it's been indispensable because I continue, for better or worse, to stay on this Hyatt status journey. And yeah, I've become a little spoiled and a little addicted to it. I made a video on the Hyatt Globalist Fast Track. I'm going to continue doing that for next year. We'll see if it works out. The challenge in this strategy is and we'll get to this later in the video, is Chase's insistence on making the game harder for everyone. And, we know that devaluations are the nature of the game, but they've really gone above and beyond to make their products needlessly complicated, their application rules needlessly arbitrary and confusing. For the moment, the Hyatt card for me is indispensable because, yeah, sure, even though you can get 4x direct at any hotel with the Sapphire Reserve, so that's nice. And you only get also 4x on Hyatt hotels with this card. There's some underrated benefits. One is you get the free night certificate after $15,000 in spend in the calendar year. And while that's capped at a category 4, you're also concurrently earning 2 elite qualifying nights for every $5,000 in spend. So after spending 15, you have 6 elite qualifying nights, and you also have 1 free night certificate. So if you're using this card on Hyatt and on elevated categories, which are reasonably generous, such as 2x on transit and dining, you can do reasonably well. And indeed, unless you're just a total road warrior, if you're in the Hyatt status game, you kind of have to use this card. But I think it also makes a reasonable catch-all card, at least to that 15K. Whether that's going to be worth it over a 2x catch-all card for you, you'll really have to do the math on that and what redemptions you're planning to use with your points or your cash back. But for me, at least, it's still very much worth spending up to that 15K. Last, but certainly not least, is the surprise workhorse of the year, the United Gateway card. Full disclosure, I've actually already product changed this to the United Quest card, but it hasn't come in the mail yet. There's a few things I want to highlight really quickly about this card. It's a no annual fee card, but Chase, fortunately, one thing they've done right this year is they've been pretty generous. And I don't know how much of this is United's doing and how much of it's theirs, but at least some of it's with Chase, because I've seen them do this on some other cards, notably the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card. And what it is these short-term mini subs, these small bonuses that they offer, such as spend $2,000 this quarter and we'll give you 5,000 points. Or sometimes it's the one that I really like is you get 5x points on certain common categories for a certain period of time, such as groceries and dining. I've maxed those out, and there's been at least 3 of those this year, and I've probably all in have been able to earn kind of a surprise, I don't know, roughly 20,000 points on a card that normally doesn't really get used. But one of the other benefits that it has is expanded Savor Award space when booking United flights. For better or worse, United, as well as everyone else in this game, incentivizing you to have their cards, even for basic stuff like just using your miles and points, as far as making more deals available. In addition, if you have a business card, you get an annual 5,000 point bonus just for holding both. So the moral to this story is that if you fly United at least semi-often, it pays to have both a personal and a business card. But if you don't want to have the complexity and annoyance of having to pay a fee on 2 different cards, because there are no annual fee business options, the Gateway is a reasonable choice, because even though the card itself doesn't really have much going for it as far as perks or earnings, it does open up more doors for you just as a United flyer, as far as expanded Savor Award space, as far as the 5,000 point bonus, and these additional spending bonuses that there are, like these targeted email offers that they send. So time will tell if the same level of generosity is extended from Chase for the Quest card holders. If anyone is a holder of the more premium personal Chase cards, because I haven't seen this on the business card yet, please leave a comment below. Would really like to hear if you're seeing those same targeted offers from Chase for the more premium United cards, because that would help me decide whether to keep holding the United Quest card instead of downgrading it at some point when I get tired of having yet another premium card with hoops to jump through to make your feedback. All right, now let's get into the bottom 5, the 5 worst cards for me for 2025. This one's, it's a little unfair, but we'll jump right into it. This is the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and I say it's unfair because I'm still paying the old annual fee until it renews, and then I have to pay I paid the $550, and then it's going to be $795 when it renews. And I've decided that unless they make some serious changes, I'm almost certainly downgrading this card. There's been a lot said already. I don't want to say too much other than, let me bring it back to the mission of this channel to help myself and others find that sort of optimum point for your level of commitment in this game. My level of commitment right now is pretty high, but even with that, I don't want to burn out. And this card, and just dealing with Chase, is already kind of getting me to the threshold of burnout. And by contrast, the Amex Platinum is not, because they've made it easier. So even though the fee went up, it's easier to use this card. It's easier to get your value out. By contrast, Chase, spectacularly with their edit credit and with their dining credit and their StubHub credit, and then all their lesser, kind of more junky credits. Not that Amex doesn't have a few gimmicky ones on there, but Chase, in trying to copy Amex, has really lost sight of what their advantage. That card used to be what the Citi Strata Elite now is, which is that sweet spot of an upper tier card that's not a top tier card, that hits that right blend of value and not being overly complicated. Now it's too expensive, it's overly complicated. I don't know why you would hold this card. I mean, for me, I can't understand what the value would be unless you're really attached to specific aspects of this card. There's nothing that you can't ultimately do for a lot less work using the Sapphire Preferred or even the Ink Preferred card. Particularly because they took away the broad 3x travel spend. Now it's no longer my go-to card. I'm going to use the Chase United Quest card for car rentals now, because that gives you 2x on rentals. You still get the primary car insurance, and you're earning a few PQPs towards United status. Now, inexplicably, you're only getting 1x. Even the Sapphire Preferred is going to give you 2x on travel. So, Chase, what were you thinking? All right, we'll leave it at that. Let's jump into everyone's favorite disappointment this year, the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. Now, I'll admit, I got great value out of this until their nerf, and this was a nuclear nerf. I product changed it to the Altitude Connect. I'm still waiting to get my annual fee back. They tell me it takes up to 2 billing cycles. Okay, sure. If you haven't been paying attention, they took away the 50% boost through the real-time rewards. They've taken one of the easier to use $300 travel and dining credit and turned it into a $300 discount through the portal. In other words, they're trying to make a clone of the Venture X, but it doesn't have the simplicity of the Venture X. It doesn't have a list of transfer partners. They promised some. They're not here. I don't see why you would hold this card. I mean, at least the Venture X gets you into the Capital One lounges, which are some of the best out there, even though there's not that many of them. I don't know what they were thinking other than, hey, we're losing money on this card. Let's make it as worse as we can get away with. I don't know. So that was sad because it was really nice having that 3x catch-all on mobile wallet. Now with these changes, it no longer has a space in my wallet. Consequently, yeah, it goes on my worst list. Let's get to this card. This is a card that I think it's kind of underrated, but now because of the changes that Wyndham has made, this is really no fault of Barclays, which is not a bank that I love. But the Wyndham Earner Business Card, if you can go through the hassle of applying and getting approved, and that's a whole thing. The value proposition for the card, without getting too much into details, it's pretty good. I'm going to keep mine open. But because of the loss of the Wyndham partnership, the ongoing difficulty, at least in high cost of living areas, which I often tend to be living or traveling in, I've had a hard time kind of using Wyndham points. I don't know if it's the fault of this card necessarily. Due to disappointments with Wyndham, that's on the list. The AA World Elite Executive MasterCard. So this is a bit of a nuance here, but I'm going to have to make a video on this because I feel like no one's talking about it yet. Part of the value proposition for this card, unless you are an absolute road warrior staying in AA lounges all the time, is being able to fairly easily earn status, mid or even high level status on AA, without having to fly a ton. Part of that was because of the mechanics of American Airlines' loyalty point bonus earning threshold. Specifically, must have been by design that the two 10,000 loyalty point bonuses that this card offers happen to coincide with the levels that unlock bonus earning. Stay with me here, it's a little complicated, but there's these two thresholds. One is 60,000, the other is 100,000 loyalty points. This card, when you hit 50 and when you hit 90 loyalty points on AA, it gives you a 10K boost in each of those. You see what happens. You hit 50, that bumps you to 60, but when you hit 60, AA unlocks the ability to earn 20% additional through all partner points earned, such as through shopping and dining. Same thing at 100, that would give you 30. Well, now they've nerfed this. They're only going to have one level which at 60K is going to be a 25% bonus that lasts for 6 months, but no longer is there a 30% threshold. So why is this important? Because you used to be able to kind of time your loyalty points so that you would always be cycling between one of these bonuses because they would last for 6 months each. So you could plan to hit the threshold just at the end of where the other one was, so that you would be alternating back and forth between having a 20 and a 30% bonus. This is how I was able to earn high level status for 2 years in a row. And now for next year, since I was on the fence between going with Alaska, because Alaska makes it a little simpler overall, particularly with earning on award flights. You don't have to constantly play the shopping portal game quite as militantly as I've been playing it. And so even though that's been a great way to rack up a lot of AA miles, now I can kind of coast a little bit more on that. And for flights that I'm already booking, including on partner metal, Alaska's the clear favorite for me for next year. And consequently, I now for sure am going to downgrade this card because I don't need unlimited AA lounges. And in fact, having the Strata Elite's going to give me 4 passes. The Atmos Alaska card's going to give me 4 Alaska lounge passes. You know, I'm lucky because my home airport, SFO, has, it's a pretty nice airport. You don't even necessarily need to have a fancy lounge. It's quiet. There's a lot of spaces you can hang out where you're not blasted with music and gate announcements. And there's a pretty good priority pass lounge, the club, and lots of airline co-brand lounges. So I can get away without having unlimited lounge access. And so for me, there's no longer a place in my wallet for 2026 for the executive AA card. Last but not least, dishonorable mention for the Discover It card. You know, I don't know. I don't want to pick on it's a reasonable rotating category. Maybe I'm just tired of rotating categories, but I just found that it overlapped too much with the Freedom Flex for this year. 5x cashback. There have been times, like for example, when I could get 3x points on certain cards that might have other benefits that I'm getting on top of that. Many times I would actually choose the 3x points over 5x. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more successful use of this card. I do want to work in a little bit more cash back into my setup because I do find that I am probably earning points at a little bit of a faster rate, though with Chase continuing to tighten up their application rules, I might not have quite as many coming in. And now Amex is doing that to me too. They've started giving me pop-up jail on their business cards and not just their personal cards anymore. So let me know below, what have been your surprise or not surprise best and worst cards for 2025. Hope everyone has a great 2026. Thanks for sticking around. Would really appreciate a like and subscribe so we can get more people tuning in here, build this community, and let's all take care of each other. Ciao for now.